Alright guys, what is going on? So as you know, I've been featuring Jim now for years, and everybody sees these videos and always wonders, how is he so successful, how he does what he does, and constantly sharing the knowledge and tips. But I think this video is going to be a little bit more focused on some of the failures. Jim also has failures. It's not all just success. So let's go get Jim and see what kind of failures he's had out here. Oh Jim, so it's not all just winning?
No, it's not. It's always changing up. So every year is different, and to accept the the failures is a good thing. It keeps you humble, and it also opens your eyes to just making changes. But this year, and last year, the flea beetles are pretty bad here, but usually within 3 or 4 weeks, by the end of May, they're gone. Brassicas do fine, do wonderful actually. This year they never stopped until about now. So here's a cauliflower plant that, remember the ones in Florida?
Oh yeah.
They got about
huge.
this. They got about this big and flowered. That one did a little better, but it wasn't even worth cutting.
Oh.
And every one of the kale, like there, they were just shredded. The leaves all. You're still seeing some remnants. Just full of, whoever's not familiar with flea beetles, they're little hoppy things that love the brassica family. Usually arugula and radishes are the ones they ravish, and I just stopped growing them here. Whereas I can grow so much arugula in Florida, I don't care. Alexander and the greenhouse did good with arugula because it's cold and the flea beetles aren't there. But it was a major, if I was counting on kale, I didn't have kale bouquets until this week.
Wow.
Which normally, you can be by the 1st of June.
That's one of your first crops in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then radishes. You know how I rocked those radishes? Somehow these got through. I just left them for the heck of it. And they were in a planted. I wanted to get them out, but that's the flea beetle pressure. But most of them when they came up, imagine the little leaf, that big, just decimated and they're gone. They just eat everything. Yeah. Wow. Chard's not affected. So, it might, so we had chard all along. And, even these broccoli are coming out of it. But that's a broccoli that was started in Carly's greenhouse probably in, April. And look at how little it is. It did. Most people would be happy with that, but you remember the Florida ones?
I was going to say, you're getting better broccoli in Florida.
Oh, definitely. Florida's rocking for broccoli.
Wow.
On my system. And, these little tiny cabbages. So that's been pretty much a failure. The beet greens, I guess my biggest other failure is not being on top of successional planting. I think that's probably a problem for all farmers. But it is a eye-opening thing for a home gardener, because most gardeners, they get the garden in and that's it, right? You've got the whole sea of Florida and here. You can be planting from, for sure, like May 1st here all the way through, September. Most people are done by the, middle of June.
Yeah.
And same thing in Florida, they start, some people start a little early in August, but I'm planting all the way till March, and I'm leaving in, end of April.
Wow.
So it's a good thing to do that and just keep on top of it.
I think the biggest question we had on some of the old videos we did here, Jim, were the slugs, and you kind of addressed that, and maybe bring it up again in this one.
No, it's a good thing to address. Slugs and snails have been an issue on this system with the heavy mulches. And there is some way to fight it with a sluggo. I haven't done that in this garden, except every once in a while when I put seedlings out, just to get them a week, I'll put it out. If you don't got rain coming, you can put it out, and that will take care of, probably 75% of them. But I've learned to just live with that. So I am having failures. This year again, there was something, earwigs. You know what earwig is?
Yeah.
Okay, so they'll be in the lettuces. Which one usually gets it the worst?
Not the Salanovas?
Salanovas are pretty good. But they just do like one little bite, and then they leave a... Yeah, so that's all earwig damage. Most people wouldn't even know that, but it gets a little worse than that. But I was pulling out these lettuces when they were done, they were bolting and putting it in a wheelbarrow, and there'd be like 75 earwigs running around. But acceptable losses, snails would do the same thing, or slugs. So on a Salanova, this is a slug that started eating here and went all the way up the vein. They usually love the veins, right? And so I can't just cut that whole thing and throw it in. I've got to be a little careful. Sometimes I'll just trim that off. Or they only usually work their way up from the bottom, so I just take the heart. But acceptable losses too, that it's not always going to be beautiful. And you know, these all have holes. But what blows me away is in Florida, I don't have that.
Oh, there's a snail.
Yeah. And that is something that just showed up here like within the last decade. Never had snails here before.
Really?
So, you know, we have to be, you know, flexible, watching how things are changing as the climate changes. I mean, pretty much, I'm totally in agreement that the climate is changing, and you know, we've got to be resilient and be flexible on what happens and try new stuff all the time. That's all nature does. Nature is throwing a bunch of things out there every year, and whatever succeeds for the next year, and then throws out more. And if things change, so as a gardener and a farmer, if we do the same thing, we can stay with a sustainable food production system that doesn't, and that's the whole idea about diversity. You know, there is not much for a monocrop here. A little maybe overabundance of tomatoes this year, but and that's just greed. Oh, I should start some more. Oh, they did good. Oh, I better plant them out. And then when I was making those 4-inch blocks, oh my, that took a lot more.
So how often do you irrigate this area, Jim?
You know, I did it for the strawberries 3 times over a 3-week period in June. Otherwise, this didn't get any water.
It's just nature.
Yeah, I mean, all the soil blocks, you know, they need a water. That they don't take care of themselves. So that is a, you know, a nursery kind of system that has to have.
I guess what I was getting at, in years past, even when you were farming at Ellen's place, and you weren't getting rain, you still weren't watering.
No, and I think, you know, last year we had a drought and I got a little worried, saw a drought. So, but this system wasn't in place yet. This system is in place now, and I really,
building up your soils.
Yeah, as far as the soil life and that, you know, that connection to deeper soil water. It's not as clay based, so I always worried that it wouldn't be the same, but I really believe it will be the same as long as I can keep the cover on it. But again, I'm looking. Look at this, was mulched twice, right? It's gone. I mean, I gotta go cut more hay. Help, Pete. Send some help. But luckily, I've got, you know, access to, you know, 14 or 12 acres of hay. So that's a big deal.
Healthy enough and strong enough to still go get that hay too, Jim. You know, I think this is keeping you.
Yeah,
alive.
I know it will keep me that way. And I guess another thing about, you know, it's all about perceived fears based on knowledge that's from other sources. You know, try your own stuff and don't worry. I mean, if you have bad results, you know, just change it, but don't, you know, be paralyzed by, oh, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, especially if you have an intuition about doing something. You know, I want to try that, and you walk by that space again and you go, boy, I really want to plant asparagus with raspberries, and but I can't do that because of that. Just try it. More than likely, you know, half the time it's going to be a new pioneering thing for you anyway. And then also to see the fulfillment of a fear-faced walk through, and it'll give you more confidence as you go forward. Because I've seen so many new gardeners say, oh, I read all this stuff and I can't do it. I can't even start. Just start.
Plants don't read the books, do they, Jim?
No, they don't. They write them every year. They change too, so be changeable.
Jim, I love it. Constantly evolving, keeping it real.
Yep.
All right, guys, so lots of golden nuggets there. I hope you took some takeaways, some tips from Jim. I think he had a lot of just awesome information to share. You know, he's constantly evolving, he's constantly learning, he's constantly trying something new, not staying in that same pattern, and that's what it's about. So I hope you guys got some good takeaways here. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, maybe go ahead and do so. Hit that bell to stay notified. This way it tells you every time I put up a video, because YouTube tends to hide that stuff for me. And most importantly, get out there and garden and pound some dirt.